Okay, so just a quick topic here to differentiate between quantitative and qualitative. So we've already touched on this with the granularity side of things, but it has an interesting impact in terms of model development time, your ability to service somebody yourself with a particular piece of kit. So I thought it was just worth touching base on the quantitative versus the qualitative. Now, in terms of the quantitative, this is essentially scale. So my number of revenue categories, my number of cost categories, the number of debt tranches I've got in my model. This relates to consistent but repetitive structures within your model. Now, from a model development perspective, these things can often be created on a copy and paste basis. Even the most basic user can insert rows and copy from above and typically help themselves to quantitative model developments. To this extent, it's often possible to service somebody with the creation of a model. So if I have a client and I know all they're going to be doing is quantitative changes, I can give them a model and that will satisfy their requirements. Obviously, from a Modano perspective, an insane amount of the quantitative model development is just handled. And this is not only in terms of, adding revenue lines and individual single items. It also covers more complex things. So obviously Modano users can add more debt tranches of the same type. By comparison, the qualitative aspect to a model relates to the unique treatments. So for example, if we looked at, say, a detailed corporate tax schedule, this has qualitatively different aspects. The calculations that sit behind the deferred tax are fundamentally different to those that sit behind permanent differences or the tax payment timing areas. The relevance of qualitative model development is that you typically need a modeler to do this. What we're talking about is the creation of new types of calculations as opposed to the creation of more of the same types of calculations. And obviously this is then going to have an impact on the time and cost associated with putting those changes through. So whenever you are requesting them or somebody has requested you to put a change through the model, you're always thinking, what type of change is this? Is this qualitative changing and therefore it's going to take longer? Or is it quantitative, it's just more of the same thing? I related earlier to the Modano aspect in relation to the quantitative side of things. Obviously, Modano has the ability to plug and play modular content. What this actually has done for the financial modeling sector is it's actually opened the door to making qualitative changes more readily. So for example, I might have a model that's currently got a credit foncier debt repayment mechanism. On a modular plug and play basis, I can very easily swap that out and put a qualitatively different mechanism in, such as a coverage return or some sort of waterfall mechanism. And therefore, I can actually service qualitative changes to a model on a plug and play basis. The key takeaway here is obviously just to be aware of the types of alterations you're making to a model. Are they quantitative? Is it more of the same thing? Or is it qualitative? And therefore, it might involve more time, effort, and the specifics of a modeler to actually satisfy that.